right, well, according to Maria in the office, we are live. So welcome parents to 7th grade curriculum night virtually. And we are going to start with an announcement from our assistant principal, Mr. Merrill.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Chris Merrill. I'm the assistant principal of Madison Meadows. I want to let you know that Katie Clark, our new principal, is in the 5th grade curriculum night tonight. I just want to share really quick how the evening is going to go. Our teachers are going to present some information and to you about their classrooms and what your kids have been experiencing. And then we'll be answering some pre-submitted questions. And if there's any time remaining before 5:45, we'll answer any other questions that we can. One of the biggest questions I'm sure parents have right now is how hybrid learning will look once some of our students return to school. The answer to that is not too different. Students present in classrooms and at home will still be using computers to do daily work. Teachers will be providing synchronous instruction to both groups. They will provide breaks to students to allow opportunities for stretching, snacking, and demasking. But it won't be a one-size-fits-all approach due to the nature of each subject area and the approaches to learning that teachers use. We know that streaming our curriculum night is not ideal, but Google Meet does not support large groups well, and we didn't want to take the chance that things would crash. We're going to monitor the live stream chat, but we ask that if you have any questions that are specific to a teacher or a class, that you reach out to that teacher directly. If there are questions that don't get answered by the end of the presentation, either Anna Andrews or myself will reach out to you and provide you with the information you need. At this time, I'd like to introduce our new school counselor, Amanda McDowell.
Hello, everyone. I'm Amanda McDowell. I'm the brand new school counselor at Meadows. I'm the counselor for 7th and 8th grade students. This is actually a brand new position at Meadows, and so a little about my role is I provide academic and behavior support to teachers and students. I also provide individual counseling and group counseling. I'm super excited to be a part of Meadows, and I'm excited to meet some of you this upcoming school year. And with that being said, I'll turn it over to 7th grade team lead, Miss Anna Andrews.
Anna, you're muted.
If I had a quarter for every time that has happened over the last 3 months, I could retire. Thank you for the reminder. Okay, so thank you and hello again. I'm Anna Andrews. I am the 7th grade team lead. We are going to take you guys through a Google Slides presentation, and it's going to have the basic gist of what we are covering this year in 7th grade, and it's also the opportunity to meet some of the teachers, and we'll give a little bit of information about ourselves. So, a quick idea of who exactly makes up the 7th grade team. There's me, I teach individuals and societies. There's Jason Bruso, who teaches digital design. Heather Bursell, who teaches science and a course of individuals and societies. Torrie Davis, who is with the 5th grade team right now. She teaches resource math to 7th grade. Molly Harbottle, who teaches science, also is not with us tonight. She'll be doing the 8th grade presentation. There's Noel McClure, who teaches 7th grade math. Jen Menier, who teaches 7th grade language and literature. We have Rob Nelson, who teaches band and choir. Reed Puterbaugh, who teaches 7th grade language and literature, also not with us tonight because he is presenting with 8th grade. We have Angela Rand, who teaches resource 7th grade language and literature. Celia Sanabria-Aguilar, who teaches Spanish. Joe Scaminaci, who teaches 7th grade math. Johnny Spinelli, who is our 7th grade PE teacher. And Megan Tracy, who teaches visual art, but also is presenting with 5th grade tonight. So, Mr. Nelson, I will go ahead and send it your way to talk about art and band.
Sure. So, hi, I'm Mr. Nelson. I am not Miss Tracy. Miss Tracy offered this beautiful slide, and so for visual art, students this year are going to have an opportunity to create artwork and use critical thinking skills as they develop their understanding of MYP art cycle and process journal. So far, they've created some pretty good work, and her gallery's linked right there on her website. Students who are not in art are still welcome to submit work. I know there's some students, even in, like, say, music classes, who are interested. I may even submit my art project that I put in from the painting night last year. Anyway, the IB Visual Arts course is designed to provide students with foundations of artistic literacy and understanding of the arts as a way of communication. And here's a few pieces of art that students have made thus far this year from 7th grade. Regarding band and choir, what we're doing this year is a little bit different. So we've got advanced band, we have choir, we have 7th and 8th grade classes, and this quarter I've got half a group in my advanced band of 7th graders and a full choir. So what we've been doing, just because singing digitally is about as easy as leading a conference such as this, we've been spending a lot of time doing some one-off musical skills, like, okay, everybody clap this line and post up a thing. Clap this, here's how it goes, 1, 2, 3, and 4. You all go, and try and get some note reading done that way. All the classes are kind of doing stuff like that, and then breaking into, for example, the advanced band, they're breaking off into sections and creating some things together using that musical knowledge in the Band Lab digital audio workstation. The choir and the 8th grade band class are doing basically the same thing. To a different degree, they're setting up their own little pieces. I've given them plenty of choices of beginning piano works, and they can add a drum beat to it, add a harmony to it, sing along, and we're trying to figure out how to mesh all these things together into one concise piece. It's been a bit of a learning curve, but it's been pretty cool, and I'm actually pretty happy with the software and the way some of the students are using it. We're going to share these in class, and then combine this with, we've been doing a lot of listening projects about every other class. We're listening to a different piece from all different styles of music. Today was Spirit of Radio by Rush. Last week it was a piece that I had done. It was a cover of a song. It was just kind of a silly video, but I wanted to share it with students. So I'm hoping that we can get together and make some of these things pretty big. So.
Hello, I'm Jason Bruso. I'm teaching digital design to 7th and 8th grade. So far this year, we've been focusing on digital citizenship, and specifically this unit we're on is in digital balance. Since we have so much screen time this year, it's become very apparent that we need to build in some lessons to find a way to have that balance, so that we're not just zombies at the end of the day and we disconnect from our families. So we've been actually spending a lot of time on nature and finding a way to reconnect with nature, even using technology. Throughout this year, students will be using a variety of tools to explore and create in the world. They're going to be using the IB design cycle. That's our most important tool. In this design cycle, we question, develop ideas, create a solution, and evaluate the design, so we're always improving. Some of the things we'll create this year, we'll do videos, animations, 3D objects, do lots with coding, even use some basic robotics, and engineering some solutions. So far you can see some pictures of just some postcards students made, digital postcards, trying to help elevate each other's mood during these trying times of too much technology. So hopefully on my webpage you'll be able to see a gallery of inspirational quotes and ways you can calm down and disconnect from technology. Thank you.
I unmuted. I almost did it again. I unmuted. All right, so I am, again, Anna Andrew. I am teaching most of the courses of digital design, individuals and societies. It hasn't been a long day of teaching online at all. So a little bit about me. I am a Madison baby. I went to Rose Lane. I went to number 1. I attended the IB program at North High School, and then I earned my degree in elementary education with a minor in communications at ASU. This is my 11th year of teaching middle school social studies, which is good times because every time I go out in public and people are like, oh, what do you do? And I'm like, I'm a teacher. Oh, what grade do you teach? I teach 7th grade. They give me a weird look and I'm so sorry. And they walk away. I love 7th graders. I think they are hilarious. But they are definitely an interesting group of kids to teach. Interesting in a good way to me. They keep me on my toes. I obviously love history. Classic rock is totally my jam. Mr. Nelson made me smile there when he made that reference to Rush. Pink Floyd is my personal favorite band. I have lots of Pink Floyd and Beatles posters hanging up in my classroom. I always tell the kids that I'm super into like ghost documentaries and like true ghost stories and things like that. And then we get into all these like crazy stories about this one time I saw a cat walk past me, but it wasn't a cat, it was a shadow. And they have the best stories about those things. They think everything is ghosts. It's awesome. In my free time, I enjoy jogging when I have free time to go jogging. I love reading, mostly history books, because I'm a nerd. And I like going out to trivia nights with my friends because I know everything. And then an interesting fact about me is that I have named all my cats after different literature characters. I've got Augustus from Willy Wonka, Neville from Harry Potter, and Perseus from the Percy Jackson series. This year in Individuals and Societies, we're all about units, and the standards for 7th grade changed last year. So instead of being like very chronological in American history, we're now taking more of this approach of how events that happened around the world between the 1700s to modern times impacted what happened within the United States. So the first unit that we've been starting with is all about revolutions and rights. So we started with the scientific revolution and the Enlightenment, which is kind of a rough way to start the year because it's very philosophical. It's hard to kind of like grasp that, especially coming back from the summer break. But the kids did okay, bless their hearts. We're doing the American Revolution right now, which is an IB unit. We are discovering the concepts of power and perspective and how those lead people to defining what their rights are. And then we will finish out the unit with the French Revolution. After that, coming back into quarter 2, we're going to be talking about industrialization. So we'll look at the origin of the Industrial Revolution in Europe and how it came over to the United States, how that created an environmental impact, how there is still an environmental impact from industrialization happening even now in 2020. We're going to talk about the progressive movement at the turn of the century around the 1900s and how immigration also played into that and impacted industrialization, drawing people to the United States for jobs, and then creating a need for progressive reform for education, things along those lines. And then we'll talk about how organized labor came about at the end of the 1800s. We will also be going into the concept of imperialism. So we are going to study the impacts that European imperialism had throughout the world. So we'll see how European imperialism changed China and India and influenced Asia, even going into Vietnam, which is going to help when we get into the Vietnam War fourth quarter. We'll look at North American imperialism, so the role of the colonists coming over and altering the change of life for Native Americans. And we're also going to be looking into Africa, the scramble for Africa, and then Australia and how those continents were impacted by European imperialism. Third quarter, we are going to get into the world wars. We're going to talk about World War I, which is awesome. And then we're going to talk about what happened between the years to lead to a second World War, which is World War II is my jam. We're probably going to spend a lot of time talking about that. And then we're going to finish out the year talking about the Cold War, so looking at the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and then how tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union actually even kind of got us to where we are today. and what that looked like, especially in the 1950s. We love to do duck and cover exercises. Hopefully we'll be back in the classroom doing duck and cover exercises. Because our standards changed last year and we weren't able to finish out a full year with the schools closing after spring break, we are still trying to develop new IB units with these new standards, but we do for sure have an American Revolution unit, and we for sure have a World War II unit. More to come.
All right, that's me. My name is Jen Minier. It's pronounced Minier, right? In case the spelling threw you off. I'm from Wisconsin originally. I've lived in a whole bunch of different states, Ohio, New Mexico, now Arizona. 4th year teaching at Meadows, 7th year teaching overall. I do a lot of stuff outside. And that picture up there, that is an official family portrait of me and my adopted puppy, Coco, who's actually she's right here right now. You can't see her. But I've been spending a lot of time hiking with her and hanging out and stuff like that. So lots of fun stuff. All right. And as far as language and literature goes, we're kind of project-based, so we've got a lot of different IB projects that we're doing and kind of fit with different text types. So it's all kind of up there on the screen. The on-level classes and the advanced classes do the same text types, but they have different themes that they're working with. So they're all up there, along with the novels or just the topics for the articles that we'll be reading. So there's a couple. We just finished our informational essays. That first one up there actually today was our last work day. They're looking pretty good, so I'm excited for that. There's an informational presentation that they're doing. The kids get really into the debate and the argumentative podcast that we do. So that's a lot of fun. Then we go into literature. They do a literary analysis. They do kind of more of a hands-on creation utopia project when we get into talking about utopias, dystopias, fun stuff like that. And then at the end of the year, we get very creative. They do a poetry notebook. And then they have a choice, a short story or a short play, and then we act them out the last week of school. So that's pretty fun. So it's all kind of project-based in there. As far as how the class is run, if your student has Mr. Puterbaugh, you might have to look at the 8th grade presentation. I'm not sure how he runs his show, but as for me, I'm doing a flipped classroom. So what that means is that the kids have pre-recorded short little videos, step-by-step of all of the instruction. They can rewind, they can go back, they can always get the direct instruction whenever they need it, right? You miss a class, you don't have to check in with me, you can just watch the video, you got the lesson. And that frees me breakout rooms, one-on-one writing conferencing with kids. So I am constantly in and out of breakout rooms, working one-on-one with kids, looking at their writing and kind of helping them improve and coach them to be better writers. I think that if students can write effectively about text, that shows that they understood that they read it correctly. And if they're looking for a way to write better about it, they've got to delve in and kind of read it a little bit more closely, so the two kind of work hand in hand that way. So I focus a lot on the writing because I think that the reading kind of comes along with it. Yeah, I think that's all I want to say.
Hello, this is Angela Rand. That's me. I push into Miss Minier's classroom for language arts and support students that are on IEPs and receiving services within the classroom. This is my second year at Meadows. Not necessarily new to teaching. I am from Michigan. I do have the only family at home is 2 pugs, okay? So that's about my speed here. Not as much hiking, but it's definitely the walks. But I can be reached all the time, and I do go back and forth in between different classes and even in our PE class, which I jumped into the other day to support a student. So I can be reached if there's any problems, and I try to follow the students and make sure that they are receiving accommodations and are having the service that they need to reach the curriculum within the classroom. I also am reporting here for Miss Davis, who is also a resource for our math students that receive math. She is really local, attended Simus, Meadows, and Sunny Slope, has been with Madison Meadows for 4 years, and does see students within the classroom, and same sort of setup where she does make sure that they are receiving their accommodations and follows them throughout different class periods. And tonight is in our 5th grade presentation.
Hello everyone, my name is Joe Scaminaci and I teach 7th grade math. This is my first year teaching at Meadows, but my 6th overall year teaching 7th grade math. My wife and I just moved to Arizona from Illinois this past summer, and we're loving it. I have a master's degree in instructional technology, which is very helpful, especially with this online learning. In my free time, I like to code, exercise, and golf. And for 7th grade math, it's my favorite content. 7th grade math is the best. Right now we're working on rational numbers, so negative fractions, decimals, and integers. Then we'll be moving on to ratios and proportions, and then expressions and equations, so working on algebra, and then geometry, and we will finish with statistics and probability.
Hi, my name is Noel McClure, and I have been teaching, involved in elementary education and middle school education for over 20 years. This is my 10th year teaching at Madison Middle School. I've lived in Arizona for quite a long time, but I wasn't born here. I was actually born in Connecticut. And a fun fact about me is that back in the 90s, after I graduated from Prescott College, I went off to the Peace Corps, and I actually served as a teacher in Peace Corps in Uganda, East Africa. So it was fabulous for me when teachers from Madison Meadows actually went to Uganda a couple of years ago, and I got to hear all about those experiences, and I'm just so thrilled that our school has a connection with a school in Uganda. I've also taught 1st and 2nd grade down at the bottom of the Grand Canyon for the Havasupai tribe. So when I make math problems about the Grand Canyon, you'll have some kind of background that I really did do a lot of studying and research while I was there. So I brought that with me into this experience. I did work towards my master's in Vermont, and I worked towards my doctorate in Colorado. So my doctorate degree is in K-12 teaching and learning. And in my free time, I hang out with my son, who's an 8th grader, but we play tennis together, and we are now hiking. I have recently found the Arizona Trail. I don't know if you've heard about it, but just in the past 20 years, it has been developed actually by a teacher up in Flagstaff. So now that I am aware of it, if you have more information, you have to kind of tell me about it so I can find more pathways on that trail. Thank you. I'm teaching 7th graders that are in the AEP program in math. So we are actually working on 8th grade standards. And we also, just like the regular 7th graders, we worked with number systems at the very beginning of the year. But we talked about those positive and negative integers, but we took it a little bit further, starting to talk about rational and irrational numbers. How would we put them on the number line? What does squared root and cubed root mean? So we went a little bit further and certainly looked at those Venn diagrams and how numbers fall into them. And now we are starting with linear expressions. So you may see a very common theme in that picture, that y equals mx plus b, where the m is slope of the line, and b is our y-intercept. So we are covering that right now. We're in the thick of it. So we're learning all different ways of finding slope of a line. And next, after that, that'll be in quarter 2, we will start working on functions. That's a really nice connection with linear expressions. After that will be geometry. In 8th grade, we have a lot of information with triangles and proving the Pythagorean theorem, and then trying to find ways to disprove it. We do have some IB units around that. And at the very end of the year, we have statistics and probability. One of the most famous things in our math classroom is scatter plot, and working through different statistics and trying to figure out what the odds are of certain events. So if you have specific questions about AEP math, please feel free to send me an email. Thank you.
Hey everyone, if you were wondering how a student got into the Google Meet, don't worry, I'm actually your child's teacher, believe it or not. Yeah, so I get that a lot. This is my first year teaching. I graduated from Grand Canyon University last year in the spring. I guess if you can call it graduating. I received the diploma in the mail because obviously the whole COVID thing. But I graduated, that's the important part. With a degree in secondary education, emphasis in physical education. I am loving being at Meadows so far. I'm having a great time, even in this interesting style of learning. So, what will we be doing this year? We will be developing a knowledge and understanding of what a healthy lifestyle is and how that looks in everyday life. That is what we've mostly been doing so far the first 5 weeks on this 6th week of school. So basically, how can they, at home and in the future at home or in their future lifestyles, how can they live a healthy life, whether that's from exercising or eating, or even we've talked about sleep, things such as mental health as well, how those all play into a fact of just being a healthy person. So we talked about in the beginning how being a healthy person isn't just about exercising every day. It's about exercising correctly, but also the foods we eat and how that can affect our brain and our different attitude, and how sleep affects and how everything affects our mental health, and how that can how that can alter our day-to-day activities. We will focus more on training strength, balance, endurance, aerobic, and flexibility skills when we get back in the classroom. So I've been having them do workouts at home, but I know it can be difficult. So we've been doing about 1 to 2 a week. Obviously, when we get back in the classroom, there'll be a lot more of a stress on the physical aspect of it, which I'm looking forward to. Along with the third point, developing a set of skills and knowledge on a variety of team and individual sports. I love sports. I grew up playing literally pretty much any sport you can think of. Went to college, played collegiate sport, played in about every intramural sport there. So I love sports, and I'm very fluent in a lot of them. So I'm very excited to help your students out in developing skills and finding sports that they can love and hopefully carry on with them for the rest of their life. And then lastly, creating a set of morals and standards to become the best versions of ourselves in the classroom, on the field, at home, and in the community. Character building. That is a big reason why I became a teacher. I really want to help your students just basically find out who they are and how they can become the best versions of themselves. That's really, obviously, the physical activity and health part of that is important too. But I really just want to see these students come out of here and go into high school and wherever they go after that, and just be at their best and really just living a healthy and happy lifestyle. So yeah. Other than that, about me, I'm from Oregon originally, so I'm a big outdoorsman, like hiking, fishing, big golfer. Other than that, I hope to meet all of you guys at some point this year, and thank you for the opportunity to teach your kids.
Hi everyone, my name is Heather Bursell, Ms. Bursell. I am also another new Meadows face. This is my 4th year teaching middle school. I've taught 7th and 8th grade science before. This year I'm just teaching 7th grade science and one section of individuals and societies. I also graduated from GCU, so lopes up. I was born and raised in Phoenix, love it here. I don't even mind the heat that much. I lived in India for 2 months and taught English, and also taught English in Turkey for 6 weeks. So I love the opportunity to travel and learn about different cultures and languages. I find those things fascinating. I also enjoy cooking, spending time with my friends and family. All right, so for science, what are we doing this year? We are starting our year in weather and climate. So we're finished with the water cycle, and we just started our weather and climate chapter. So that will be our first big unit, and our second one is our physical science, energy and motion. We talk about Newton's 3 laws of motion, electricity, magnets. That will be a big section that will cover at least a quarter to a semester of our instruction will be the physical science. And then we also have a unit for life science, and that's structure and function, and we'll look at plant cells, animal cells, and how they all work together to function inside a larger organism, such as ourselves. And then we do a lot of asking the bigger questions. So how does this impact our world? How can this information make our world better? And what can we do to improve our lives and the lives of those close and far away? So how we started those questions with our water and climate, we were looking at water treatment and what it means to have healthy water and what it means to have access to healthy, clean water, and taking a look at different countries besides our own and their individual either struggles or triumphs with water. Was really interesting to look at, and the kids were designing their own water filtration system, like an at-home water filtration system. So we just wrapped up our first project, which was focusing on tying together the water cycle and water treatment. And then we'll finish off our weather and climate unit with weather and climate, which is our current chapter. So all the students' work is filed into their folders for Schoology. As far as grades, I usually update their missing work once or twice a week, usually on weekends. And as always, for those of you who have talked to Schoology, is the best place to find the most accurate grade for your student, the most updated grade. PowerSchool is not auto-synced with Schoology, so it has to be manually synced, which I do a few times a week. But yeah, I love teaching science. I'm excited to be at Meadows. I'm really excited to get to meet your kids in person and learn more about them. But I'm happy to be here and excited to see how this year goes.
Hello everyone, my name is Celia Sanabria-Aguilar. I was born in Guatemala and moved to Chicago when I was 10, and I moved to Arizona in 2017, so this is my 3rd year. Love the heat, so I don't mind it too much. I've been teaching Spanish for 14 years in the middle school, taught in Chicago for 10 years, and this is my 4th year here in Meadows. I have a bachelor's in teaching of Spanish and my master's in bilingual bicultural education. I'm a first-time mom to a 2-month-old, so I don't know what free time is anymore. But, you know, when I used to have free time, I used to be active, and I used to love running and traveling and all that nice stuff. Hopefully I'll get to do that soon, but I don't foresee it in the near future. And as far as Spanish, we started the year with just kind of reviewing some of the basic topics they learned last year. We just started a unit on our daily routine, so we'll be learning basic vocabulary about our daily routines, comparing routines from, you know, our lifestyles here in Arizona versus styles in different countries in Latin America, and how those daily routines compare based on the location that people live in. Our next unit will be learning about foods. They'll get to do a recipe and share with their classmates, and then we can compile a book of recipes that can be found in many different countries in Latin America. And then the last unit for the year is Las Fiestas, which pretty much talks about the different celebrations and traditions and holidays that are happening throughout the year in many Latin American countries. And that's pretty much it for me. So we, as a team, came together and spoke about some of the stuff that we were kind of noticing as familiar trends that parents and students may be struggling with a little bit in this new platform of Schoology. And so Mr. Scaminaci put together a video so that you guys can see how to check grades, understanding that technology, as we have all learned very clearly over the last couple of months, technology is better for some than others. Shady at best, janky as my kids called it today. So if you cannot see this video because of technology issues, it is only a little bit over a minute long, but if it's one that you would like us to send to you, feel free to send one of us an email and we can forward the video to you. But for those of you who can see it, we will show it very quickly so that you can see how to navigate to find your kids' grades.
Hello everyone, just a quick video showing you how to view grades in Schoology. So this is a student view, so I'm hoping that it looks similar to this on your end. There's options on the left-hand side here. You're going to click on the third one down, which is grades. And when you click on this grades tab, it will bring up a report similar to this one. You can see there are formative assignments with the assignment names below. So assignment 2, discussion, and test formative. You can see the scores of those assignments here on the right out of the total points. And you can also see that it shows missing assignments. So you'll be able to see if your students have any missing assignments. The grade at the top is the grade averaged together, so the grade all together. Same thing for summatives. You can see the total grade and then the actual assignment, the rational numbers project in this example course with the score. And then at the bottom, you can see the final course grade. So once again, just click on that grades tab and there should be a report. This one is very clean and tidy since it is only for one course. I haven't viewed it from an actual student's perspective, so there might be some more courses. But I would recommend if you're having trouble figuring out what the information is, I would recommend you sit down with your student and they can walk you through all their different courses and grades and assignments. Thank you for watching.
So again, I don't know if that worked well for you guys or didn't work well for you, but again, if you want to see the video, you can email any one of us and we can share that video with you so that you can see it. We've kind of been learning a lot from this experience using Schoology, what works and what doesn't work, and the kids are not particularly quiet about sharing that with us when things are not working right away. So we've grown a lot of patience for that. So again, please let us know if there's anything that we can help with. One other thing that I would also like to mention is that the vast majority of teachers are successfully being able to use Schoology to put in their grades, and it really seriously is the best place to go and get detailed information. But there are some other teachers that are still having some struggles. And thank you, I'm not the only one. Okay, I saw a couple other teachers. Okay, good, it's not just me. In the case for our courses, Power School is going to be the best place to check grades for right now. I understand from your perspective as parents how totally and completely frustrating that is to have to go to all these different places to check your students' grades. But I also ask that you please, please, please be patient with us. This was a brand new learning platform that we only had a couple of days to figure out before we had to start teaching on it. And we are still learning the hard lessons along the way. And not everything is coming out perfect, but we really truly are trying. And we do understand the frustration that you guys are experiencing. We just ask that please be patient. And if you ever have any questions about grades or where to find assignments or anything along those lines, we are more than happy to be able to respond to those emails. And hopefully, as time goes on, we will get more familiar and everybody will be on the same page. But in the meantime, just understand that there may be some teachers that need a little bit more time to. So we have here a couple questions that were submitted from the Google form that Mrs. Clark and Mrs. Rowell in the office sent out for information that parents would want to know when we are presenting on curriculum night. So I'm going to have our Schoology grade level expert, Ms. Mimier, answer the first couple of questions, and Ms. Bursell is going to answer the second questions. Go ahead, Ms. Mimier.
All right, so in that video that Mr. Scaminaci just shared, and we can share it with you if you need to see it again, that is the best way to see if assignments are turned in or not. So you can see it in that video. When an assignment's turned in, it gets a little icon next to it. It's got a little piece of paper or a little like word bubble if it's a discussion post versus just like an upload document kind of thing. If that little thing is showing up next to their grade, they've turned it in. Okay? There's been an assignment that has been submitted to there. Teachers update grades periodically whenever we get a chance. I know personally, I usually try to sit down on Sundays and just start fresh for the week, having everything updated. But we kind of update when we have a chance. So if your child is saying, hey, I turned it in, I uploaded it, but the score is still blank, if it has that little icon next to it, something has been uploaded to Schoology, and that will get graded next time that teacher gets a chance to sit down with grades, usually once a week at least. So when some of them show up as overdue, so there's that little bar over on the side, it's like upcoming or past due or anything like that on the student view, it might still show up over there even if the student has submitted something. It's just that the teacher hasn't graded it yet. And then once it gets graded, it disappears from that little list. So as long as there's a little icon, then it's turned in. If there's no little icon and there's no submission in there, then we don't have an assignment that's graded, and that one will still need to be completed. And then the next one, why do some of the Google Forms questionnaires take longer to populate in Schoology? We've got this Google Sync kind of thing happening. So there's kind of Google Classroom functionality that's kind of imported into Schoology, but it's not as nice as it was in Google Classroom. It lets us do a lot more things in Schoology. We've got all these fancy things going on, plus the stuff that was in Google Classroom. So sometimes the apps get a little weird when you're doing that. I know I've encountered that. Kids all of a sudden couldn't see anything I posted using Google Docs. So that was a fun day where I was on the phone with IT for an entire class period trying to fix it. It was really fun. So sometimes those Google hiccups happen for some students. Sometimes they happen for other students. Usually I tell them to refresh it, close out, go back in. A lot of times that fixes it. The other thing that we found is when building an assessment in Schoology's program. Okay, so they've got a program that you can make it. That's not a Google form, but it's another kind of assessment type. It does a lot more fancy things. You can do drag and drops. You can highlight in passages and all kinds of stuff that you can't do in other programs. That doesn't always give them their score right away, which is kind of frustrating, especially if you're using it for a quick check. Here, try this, see how you're doing, and then that's what we're going to work on today. It's not always immediate. I found that usually if kids refreshed it by the end of the class period, their score would be there. But every once in a while, you got to wait till the next day for it to come through. And it seems to just kind of be a random technology thing. So as we're discovering this as teachers, what works well for all students and what seem to have these problems, we're kind of moving towards the ones that are a little bit more reliable, and using those ones where the technology doesn't get in the way of student learning.
Okay, so I should have knocked on wood when I started talking trash about technology, because as soon as I made a comment about technology being glitchy, Miss Bursell got kicked off and her computer restarted. So technology is awesome. I have not tried to come back. Gods out there. She's back. Okay, I was calling for you, Miss Bursell. Go ahead. Thanks. I know. It's like, no, not now. The last two questions: should my child have their camera on during class, and is it helpful for my child to use the chat option during class? Yes, to both. It is helpful. I try to remind my students to turn their cameras on. It helps me kind of get to see them, read their body language a little bit, and see if they're engaging or if they seem confused. Or Ms. Andrews is even saying, like, if they need a break, if they're seeming really wiggly. And then for the chat, I use it frequently to kind of do check-ins and see if students need help or if they're understanding. So I encourage my students to use the chat option to communicate with me. That way it's kind of like using that hand raise feature. So yes to both. If students are using the chat option inappropriately, or as they say, if they're spamming the chat, I'll remind them to not do that, and sometimes I'll lock the chat if students are using it to be distracted. But generally, it's a very helpful tool for me, and I think most students or most teachers would agree that the chat is very helpful when used correctly. All right, parents. Well, that concludes our presentation for 7th grade curriculum night. Again, we would encourage any of you to reach out to us at any time for any questions. Things are changing. I would love to say week by week, but really it feels like things change day by day. And so if there are frustrations for you, there's probably equally as many frustrations for us. And we look forward to working with you this year cooperatively to try to get the best bang out of this buck for our kids, so that it's not a lost year, but a year for learning new challenges. And so with that, please feel free to reach out to us at any time, and we look forward to meeting you face to face someday. So